Long time no see! I had a baby! Come see the baby and celebrate with us! 3 years ago, Emily's sister, who had taken her husband and cut off all communication since that day, suddenly sent a message to Emily's smartphone. Despite still harboring painful memories and doubts about her sister and brother-in-law, Emily later went to their house with her daughter. Emily's sister and ex-husband, mistaking her for still being a single mother, continued to throw unkind words at her. Then, Emily's husband, delayed by work, arrived. When he introduced himself to Emily's sister and her husband, their expressions changed dramatically, showing a mix of surprise and tension. My name is Emily. I'm a 29-year-old part-timer. I married my husband, who is 4 years older, 2 years ago. We have a lovely 3-year-old daughter and live happily as a family of 3. Recently, it's become our daily routine to go for a run early in the morning, while our daughter is still sound asleep. These morning runs have become a joyful time for me. After running, we have breakfast with our daughter, then drop her off at daycare and go to work. Commuting time is our special time to talk about family and plans. My husband is very supportive of parenting, and thanks to him, our daughter is growing up healthy. Next weekend, we plan to visit a newly opened park in the next town, which has a large playground for small children. My daughter, perhaps inheriting my traits, loves physical activities, so she'll probably be thrilled. I'm happy to talk about simple joys like playing in the nearby park instead of extravagant trips. I also enjoy sharing small joys on social media. I post pictures of cute children's items, beautiful scenery, and delicious food we enjoy as a family, sharing them with my followers. The responses are delightful, with increasing likes and comments, making my use of social media enjoyable. One day, I noticed a message on my smartphone. It was from my sister, whom I hadn't heard from since she moved far away for a job transfer. The message started with "long time no see" and mentioned that she had returned to our hometown after 3 years due to the transfer. She wrote that we'd live close again and made a somewhat presumptuous request to come and see her newborn baby and celebrate, as sisters should. I have an older sister by 2 years. Since childhood, she's been cute and aware of her charm, always the center of attention. As she grew up, she frequently changed boyfriends, receiving endless confessions. In contrast, I was just an ordinary girl, often compared to her and nicknamed Plain Jane. Despite knowing this, she occasionally teased me, jokingly saying, "Well, you're Plain Jane, after all." However, our parents loved us equally, raising us as their beloved children, so I tried not to mind being called Plain Jane. But due to an incident 3 years ago, my sister and I are now estranged. Before marrying my current husband, I had divorced someone else. He was a high school sweetheart, and our marriage was celebrated with wishes of finally tying the knot. But as my pregnancy progressed and it became harder to move, something unexpected happened. My sister had been close to my ex-husband since high school, and that relationship continued even after we married. I optimistically thought of myself as just a sister's boyfriend. But my sister used her charm to gradually deepen her relationship with my ex-husband. This might have been exacerbated by the increased time we spent together after I married him. As my pregnancy progressed and my belly grew, their closeness seemed to increase. Eventually, my ex-husband, who originally preferred my slim figure, began to say that my pregnant, strained appearance lacked family charm. However, I kept reminding him sadly that the baby in my belly was his child. Despite this, he seemed unempathetic. For my ex-husband, even though the child in my womb was his own, he showed no interest and became completely infatuated with my sister. Eventually, the affair between my ex-husband and sister led to a divorce, with me receiving damages from both right before giving birth. This situation enraged my parents, who decided to disown my sister and banish her from the house. It was a harsh farewell, with her being ordered never to return. I gave birth as a single mother, with the help of my parents, after divorcing before delivery. Feeling I shouldn't rely solely on my parents, I returned to my job before the birth and managed to raise my daughter as a single mother, occasionally helped by my parents, until I met my current husband. During this time, I was fortunate to have understanding colleagues at work, whose support helped my daughter grow up healthy. Despite being the child of such a terrible ex-husband, I felt deeply happy looking at my daughter's lovely sleeping face when my husband returned home. Startled by my husband's voice saying, "I'm home, just got back," I looked at him. He immediately asked if there was a problem, noticing even the slightest change. I didn't want to burden him. Hesitant to speak, I thought about how keeping silent would only make him worry. So I decided to tell him about the email from my sister. "You know, I received an email from my sister for the first time in 3 years." As I began to speak, my husband, well aware of my previous marriage, looked a bit anxious but urged me to continue. While talking, I mentioned that my sister and her husband had moved back to our area after 3 years. But in reality, I had heard about my sister from high school friends and hesitated to meet her again, so I kept my distance. My husband listened quietly, nodding. She emailed me to come and see the baby and celebrate, as we are sisters after all. But considering our past, I'm struggling with whether I should go or not. I faltered. Then, after a moment of thought, my husband spoke with determination. "Isn't this a good opportunity? Let's go together and show them how happy we are now. We can talk and maybe resolve some issues." Surprised by his unexpected suggestion, I felt grateful inside. I was ready to confront my sister and her husband without running away. I informed him that we would visit my sister's house in a few days. On the day, I waited for my husband to finish work, but when he got held up, I went to my sister's house alone with my daughter. My sister greeted us first. "Really long time no see. You must have had a hard time giving birth and raising a child alone. It seems like a grim experience, but maybe it made you stronger, right?" She spoke confidently and directly, without mincing words, as she looked at me. Hearing our conversation, my ex-husband, seemingly indifferent, said from the entrance,
"It's rude to keep them standing there. Let them in quickly."
Accepting my sister's invitation, my daughter and I entered and gave her a baby gift. "Congratulations on the birth. Here's something for the baby. Please use it if you like." After much deliberation, I chose an educational toy suitable for when the baby grows a little. My sister showed delight at the famous brand toy. "You're a single mother, yet you give such an expensive gift. Oh, I'm sorry. You couldn't have afforded this for your child, right?" My sister seemed to think she meant no harm with her words. After that, we went to the next room to see the baby sleeping soundly in the crib. My sister proudly showed off the baby, saying how cute she was. The baby was indeed cute, with clear features resembling both my sister and my ex-husband. Even though the baby was the child of my malicious sister and infuriating ex-husband, that didn't change the fact that she was adorable. I silently prayed that the child wouldn't inherit their personalities. My sister started a one-sided conversation upon noticing my daughter, who was shyly hiding behind me. "Well, the child of Plain Jane looks just like her. Plain, being a single mother must be tough for you. But you have your parents, so it's not a problem. You're lucky to have people to help you. We're raising our child on our own, so it's not easy." My sister seemed to be under the misconception that I was still a single mother after divorcing my ex-husband. Her malicious attacks were met with a mild warning from my ex-husband, telling her not to say too much. Despite this child being half his, my ex-husband seemed to have no interest in her. I wasn't expecting much, but I felt a bit sad thinking that this child in front of me was connected by blood to my ex-husband. Just then, my smartphone rang. It was a call from my husband, saying he was finished with work and was on his way. I informed them that my husband was joining us, surprising my ex-husband, who had no idea I was married. In response, my sister, with a teasing look, said she thought I must have hurried to find a partner to help me economically as a single mother. As it's been 3 years and single motherhood isn't easy, she didn't seem too surprised. The main reason my sister took my ex-husband from me was his high income. She always wanted to marry someone with a high income and education. and my ex-husband fit the bill perfectly, working at a large corporation and being an ideal partner for her. My sister was self-satisfied and smug about taking my ex-husband from me, but soon both she and my ex-husband would face an unexpected turn of events and be astonished. When my husband arrived at my sister's house and introduced himself, their expressions were one of disbelief. "You're the one who just won a gold medal at the World Championships as the first American person, right?"
You're the athlete who's been in the spotlight recently, breaking records and winning at various international competitions, right?
Both my sister and ex-husband were simply astonished. My husband is currently the most prominent athlete. Though he didn't see much success initially, he has recently been improving steadily, participating in international competitions as a representative of America, breaking world records and winning medals. My sister and ex-husband were unable to hide their surprise at this reality. They bombarded us with questions, and we ended up explaining everything from our meeting to our current life. When I divorced my ex-husband, my delivery was imminent. But I had no time to be disheartened. Despite being mentally shaken by the divorce and upcoming birth, I managed to give birth safely with my parents' support. No matter the situation, I was determined to always protect my daughter and live positively. Fortunately, my daughter was healthy and grew up well. One day, as I struggled with a large bag while holding my daughter, my husband approached, offering to help and saying,
"You seem to be having a hard time. Let me help you."
This led to a natural conversation and quick connection. My daughter, who is usually shy around strangers, quickly warmed up to him, and we got married. Remembering that moment, I exchanged smiles with my husband and daughter. My husband was an athlete affiliated with a company developing educational toys related to the company I worked for. The educational toy I gave as a gift to my sister was one of these. My role was to test these toys with my daughter and report back on improvement. Thanks to this, we have plenty of educational toys at home.
Could this educational toy be?
Yes, the gift I gave to my sister was one of these samples. But my husband's main job is as an athlete. I often think how multi-talented he is. Since I knew how important daily meals and training were for my husband, I've been committed to making delicious and nutritionally balanced meals since we got married. My husband turned to my sister and her husband and said with a smile, thanking me for allowing him to concentrate on his training and competitions without worry. He also happily talked about how our morning runs have become a joyful time for us as a couple.
Thanks to our running, you've become surprisingly slender post-pregnancy, maintaining a great figure, he said proudly. Recently, running with my husband has positively influenced my figure, and I'm satisfied with my body shape. Hearing this, my ex-husband was surprised and said, "If I had known you'd become such an attractive woman, I wouldn't have divorced you.
Which earned him stern looks from my sister. Meanwhile, my sister noticed my ex-husband's weight gain and pointed out, leading to his annoyance. He complained that his weight gain was due to her poor cooking and frequent eating out. He even made derogatory comments about my sister's post-pregnancy weight gain, saying she lacked femininity. Eventually, this escalated into a heated argument between my sister and ex-husband. Amidst this, my husband signaled to me and pointed to our daughter, who was nearly asleep, suggesting,
"We've done what we came for. Let's go home."
Holding our daughter, we left my sister's house, looking at our sleepy-eyed daughter. Later, my ex-husband, who prefers slender women, neglected my sister after she gained weight post-pregnancy and repeatedly cheated with women he preferred, leading to their second divorce. He was disowned by his family and struggled with damages payment. Hearing this, I was both surprised and appalled. My sister, having torn my ex-husband from me and subsequently severed her relationship with our parents, found herself isolated and struggling to raise her daughter alone. The damages she received from my ex-husband were wasted on eating out and lavish living, putting her in a difficult financial situation. It seemed like karma had caught up with her. While I sympathize with my niece, it's hard for me to extend a helping hand. My sister will have to manage on her own in the future. I've moved beyond what happened with my ex-husband and sister, and now I enjoy peaceful days with my husband and daughter. One day, my husband brought exciting news. His team was relocating overseas. I felt joy mixed with surprise, but at that moment, the thought of living apart from my husband in a foreign country filled me with anxiety. Even though communication is easy through the internet nowadays, being physically apart is still lonely. As I expressed these thoughts, my husband said he wanted me to come with him. I was surprised, but he explained that being with me and our daughter gives him the strength to perform infinitely better. He wanted us to enjoy life overseas together. I smiled and nodded happily. Now I look forward to a new adventure, ready to live bravely with my husband and daughter, even away from America.